Hi, my name is Kristen Auer. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm the co-president of the LGBTQ plus experience.
Hey, I'm Avery Young. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I am the other co-president.
I'm Alex Gomes. My pronouns are they, them, theirs, and I'm the vice president.
Hi, I'm Jason Chiraki. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I am our secretary.
And I'm Jack. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm the treasurer for the LGBTQ plus experience.
We wanted to personally welcome you to our virtual forum for the Trans Day of Remembrance. For the past 2 years, we have done a live forum where individuals and members of our Loyola community can come and speak on what they feel is important on this day and remember and honor those that we have lost to transphobic violence. Unfortunately, due to time and space and, just general not being on the quad, we have moved this to virtual, and we hope you enjoy our collection of speeches and personal anecdotes. Loyola stands with the trans community.
I stand with the trans community.
I stand with the trans community.
I stand with the trans community.
You will not be erased.
Hi, my name is Bren Budge. I use she, her pronouns, and I stand with Loyola's trans community. In fact, I'm a member of Loyola's trans community. Events like this one and organizations like Out Loyola, the LGBTQ plus experience, Prism, and Spectrum had an invaluable impact on my experience here. I applied to Loyola not long after coming out, and the fact that I've been able to work here without my gender ever being an issue, that I've been able to find a community for myself, that I've had the opportunity to advocate for trans and queer communities in events like this, it's been really incredible. It is so meaningful to me that people like myself are accepted and celebrated at Loyola. I work in the tech services department, which unfortunately doesn't give me a lot of opportunities to directly advocate for LGBTQ plus people in my day-to-day work. That said, if anyone ever wants to talk about their own relationship with gender, or if you have any questions about how to support the trans people in your life, I'm always happy to talk. You can look me up in the Loyola directory. My name is Bren Budge, BRBUDGE at loyola.edu. Give me an email, we'll find a time to talk. I want to sincerely thank all of the students and staff who were involved in getting this event set up. Transphobic violence, both literal physical violence and more insidious, emotional violence, abandonment, and discrimination are a tragic reality for trans people around the world. I have faith in humanity. I genuinely believe that a day will come when the idea of a person wanting to express themselves as a gender other than the one assigned to them by a doctor at their birth will be universally met with admiration and love instead of hatred and fear and confusion. But until that day comes, we need to stand together. We need to show the trans and gender non-conforming people in our lives that we love them, that we'll protect them, and that we won't tolerate transphobia. I want to offer reverent remembrance for all of my trans siblings that have been lost to hatred and ignorance. This year, in years past, and in years to come. Loyola stands with the trans community. I stand with the trans community. You will not be erased.
Hello, I'm Amanda Thomas, Provost here at Loyola University, Maryland, and in my job, I oversee academics and enrollment management for the university. As an executive leader here at Loyola, I, like all members of our community, are committed to the values of our institution, and one of those values is diversity. God has graced us with a tremendous diversity of identities. Identity is a multifaceted concept, and it includes such things as roles, like a spouse or a child, personality variables such as introverted, sensation seeker, sensitive, ethnicity, sexual orientation, and gender identity. Loyola is a place where everyone should feel safe, and I am committed to assuring that safety. This Day of Remembrance for trans, non-binary folks reminds us of the need for support for this community. I want to use my voice to honor those who have been hurt emotionally and physically because of their trans binary status, and most egregiously, in memory of those who have been lost through violence from this community because of their identity. Loyola stands with the trans non-binary community, and I stand with you as well. We love you.
Hi, my name is Brandon. My pronouns are he, him, and his, and I stand with Loyola's trans community. I'm the LGBTQ plus services coordinator at the Counseling Center, and on a personal level, my career focus has been on reducing barriers to equitable and quality healthcare for trans and non-binary individuals. I've spent the last decade working to educate fellow providers on integrating trans-affirming care as a normal part of primary care in both university settings and in community settings. Me and my colleagues at the Counseling Center have dedicated ourselves to being more than trans-affirming, but being trans-knowledgeable. Our goal is for all trans students at Loyola to feel supported by our center and to never have to worry about whether or not their provider will understand or be welcoming of their identity. Our department, in conjunction with CCSJ, hosts the In, Out, and In Between group for all queer identities. Additionally, we've taken steps to ensure that everything from our clinic's forums, our services, our internal professional development, to make sure that that all integrates trans perspectives. At the Counseling Center, you are seen and you are welcome. For me, this annual demonstration is both a source of sadness and a source of hope. Sadness that our trans friends and neighbors continue to face unprecedented levels of stigma and violence and discrimination, and hope, because I hope that by continuing to speak out, draw attention to this, and remember the people that we've lost, that we can continue to work towards systemic change. We remember those who have been lost to transphobic violence, and I will use my voice in their honor. Loyola stands with the trans community. I stand with the trans community. You will not be erased.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Moore Thomas. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. I stand with Loyola's trans community. I take seriously our work for diversity, equity, and inclusion. As Loyola's Chief Equity and Inclusion Officer, my focus, my work, my passion, and my purpose is to lead and collaborate through programs, supports, initiatives, and strategic plans so that we meet the institutional goals that ensure all of us, each and every one of us, feel the sense of belonging and can thrive at Loyola. I remember and respectfully memorialize Rita Hester, who in 1998 was brutally murdered because of her identity as a trans woman. I also remember and respectfully memorialize the more than 386 people worldwide and the more than 47 people in the United States in this year alone were murdered because of their trans identity. The inexcusable horror of trans violence, oppression, and harm must end, and it must end now. Today, commit to expressing love and respect in the face of indifference and hatred. Right now, boldly, loudly, and publicly speak out against trans violence and oppression everywhere and in every instance. In this moment and moving forward, commit to reflection and continuing support of this annual Day of Remembrance and meaningful activism in support of the trans non-binary community. During this day of remembrance and always, we remember those who have been lost to transphobic violence. I'm using my voice in their honor. I stand with the trans community. The Office of Equity and Inclusion stands with the trans community. Loyola University, Maryland stands with the trans community. You will not be erased.
Hi, my name is Andrew Ross, speaking for my colleagues in the History Department. My pronouns are he, him, and his, and we stand with Loyola's trans community. As a department teaching a range of subjects in terms of both time and space, we are committed to engaging with the full richness of the human experience, which includes specific attention to histories that have for too long been neglected. Historians of sexuality have long recognized the ways that gender and gender identity are not fixed either in time or place, but rather have emerged through complicated processes of both oppression and resistance. Trans lives in particular have, over the course of centuries, shown how gender is far more malleable and complicated than is often recognized. Today, as we remember the lives lost to transphobic violence, we also want to recognize the ways that trans and non-binary people have shaped history. In Weimar, Germany, transgender individuals were central to the formation of modern LGBTQ rights discourses at the Institute for Sexual Research, prior to its destruction by the Nazis. In the 1950s, Christine Jorgensen became a celebrity for being one of the first Americans to obtain gender affirmation surgery, and she used her fame to advocate for transgender rights while showing all people how gender is not fixed in stone. In 1969, transgender people such as Marsha P. Johnson were at the center of the Stonewall Uprising that radicalized the gay rights movement. These three examples only scratch the surface and fail to account for the wide breadth of contributions by other kinds of gender identities that highlight the dangerous simplicity of the binary gender system. Histories of female husbands, of eunuchs, hijras, and travesti, as well as two-spirit peoples, showcase the global significance and historical impact of trans and non-binary identities in their amazing diversity. The History Department is committed to teaching these histories in ways that facilitate greater inclusion and equity while supporting our trans students specifically. We commit to respecting our students' chosen names and pronouns, including the use of they as a singular pronoun. We commit to intervening when transphobic discourse enters the classroom without placing undue burden on our trans and non-binary students. And we commit as well to listening to the needs of our trans and non-binary students and responding their concerns if and when we mess up. We encourage you to review our recently reaffirmed commitment to equity and inclusion, which is available on our website, and hold us accountable for fulfilling these pledges. We remember those who have been lost to transphobic violence, and we will use our voices in their honor. Loyola stands with the trans community. We stand with the trans community. You will not be erased.
Hi, my name is Nikki. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and I stand with Loyola's trans community.
And my name is Brittany. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and I stand with Loyola's trans community.
I am the SGA Student Body President.
And I am the Director of Student Equity, and we are both committed to advocating for and amplifying the voices of the trans and non-binary student body at Loyola.
SGA is committed to representing the interests of all Loyola students, and that very much includes trans and non-binary students.
We recognize the importance of our voices as student leaders to support and work towards policies that prioritize the safety and inclusion of our trans students, and the efforts needed to combat transphobia on our campus and beyond.
We also want to recognize the work of the LGBTQ+ experience and their excellence as student leaders, and commend their continued work to hold this demonstration annually.
We look forward to continuing to work with you to make meaningful change for the Loyola trans community.
We remember those who have been lost to transphobic violence, and I will use my voice in their honor.
Loyola stands with the trans community. I stand with the trans community. You will not be erased.
Hi, I'm Alex Gomes, a member of the LGBTQ+ Experience e-board, and I'll be reading a statement from the Division for Student Development. The Division for Student Development is grateful to be included in this important event. Our division is made up of many offices, and we work to support students in their endeavors outside of the classroom, on campus, and in the Baltimore community. In our work, we are committed to making Loyola a safe place for trans and non-binary community members. We have been one of the leading sponsors of the Chosen Name policy, which is building a path for community members to use a chosen name in almost all Loyola systems. Years ago, we added a question to our roommate matching system that specifically focuses on students being a supportive and affirming roommate for students in the LGBTQ+ community. And more recently, we are committed to working with students on a case-by-case basis if the binary housing system does not meet their needs. We've also worked to be more inclusive on our surveys, intake forms, and paperwork while creating or modifying administrative positions to include a focus on supporting LGBTQ+ students. We remember last year when we gathered on the steps of humanities, and we are thankful this demonstration is continuing this year. We look forward to when we can gather again in person in solidarity and community, and we advocate for the day when violence against trans and non-binary people ends. As people who work to shape the student experience for the better, we have an important role to play in making sure all trans and non-binary community members feel safe, feel valued, and at home. From the Division for Student Development.
We are representatives of Out Loyola, and we stand with Loyola's trans community. Out Loyola is a group of over 50 faculty, staff, and administrators of all backgrounds who are interested in promoting equality for the LGBTQ+ community members of our campus community and informed dialogue about LGBTQ+ issues at Loyola. We are committed to increasing visibility, safety, and inclusivity for the trans community.
When I think of people in Out Loyola, in the city, this country, and around the world who lived a trans life, who continue to live a trans life, I think of how their practice and what they offer was and is a certain kind of gift. It's a gift that's not about exchange, it's a gift of courageous imagination. In a time when we're pressured to limit our imaginations, or we imagine only down certain pathways and along certain lines, trans life is a life imagined outside of the empire of forms. It says to me, come here, it's okay, let it go. Think about all that is possible inside yourself. Today, I express my gratitude for those who risk so much to show us what it means to affirm life itself.
We remember those who have been lost to transphobic violence, and we will use our voice in their honor. Loyola stands with the trans community.
Hi, my name is Emily Kane. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm Assistant Director for Social Justice in Campus Ministry, and I stand with Loyola's trans community. Now, as a member of campus ministry on a Catholic campus, I am very aware that I represent a religious institution that has inflicted a lot of pain, particularly on the trans community. In spite of that, I felt compelled to share with you all that, in my eyes, a God that picks and chooses who is welcome and who is not, a God who decides that some people fit and others don't, that's not a God that I know. I would argue, in fact, that that's not God at all. That is hatred and fear disguised as doctrine, disguised as God. Campus ministry stands with the trans community at Loyola today and every day. Our hearts are broken by the loss of our trans siblings around the world, but we stand with a sense of hope, a hope and looking forward to the future for a world that not only accepts trans people for who they are, but celebrates them. Trans folks are beloved, valued, and irreplaceable members of the Loyola community. Trans folks make this world beautiful. And most importantly, trans folks are treasured in the eyes of God. One's inherent human dignity is not tied to our willingness to ascribe to a socially constructed gender binary. In fact, human dignity is not tied to gender identity at all. It is, however, affirmed simply by your existence as a beautifully complex human being. And on this Transgender Day of Remembrance, I wanted to share a poem with you written by Anne Marie Kneebone and Regina Sharon Stolfus. Divine Beloved, you are spirit, you are truth. We are made of flesh, of bone, of blood, and of spirit. We are created in your image. We reflect your brilliant and beautiful diversity. That brilliant and beautiful diversity is hated and violated, tortured and killed because it does not fit the gender mold of the masses. When we live across gender, we are hated, abused, and killed. Today, we remember our siblings, their flesh, their bones, their blood, and their spirits. Today, we ask for forgiveness for our complicity with this violence through silence, nervous laughter, thoughtless disregard, or baseless fear of our siblings who beautifully defy society's binary gender construction. Forgive us, awaken us, remind us, and transform us. We remember those who have been lost to transphobic violence, and I will use my voice in their honor. Loyola stands with the trans community. I stand with the trans community. You will not be erased.
Hi, my name is Raven Williams, and my pronouns are she, her, hers, and I stand with Loyola's trans community.
Hi, my name is Dennis Velez, and my pronouns are he, him, his, and I stand with Loyola's trans community.
Hi, my name is Julie Rivera, and my pronouns are she, her, hers, and I stand with the Loyola's trans community.
Alana Services is committed to providing an inclusive and safe space for all students. The trans community is often a target for derogatory and dangerous language, behaviors, bias, slurs, and other inappropriate actions. We have an obligation as Ignatian citizens to protect and advocate for members of the LGBTQ+ community, as well as educate others to become better allies and advocates.
As an office, we approach our work through an intersectional lens because we know that race and ethnicity aren't the only salient identities our students are proud of. We allow our students to self-identify by providing us with their chosen name and preferred pronouns, and we are mindful of our office forms and procedures to ensure that everyone can be identified in a manner that means the most to them. As a member of the LGBTQIA+ community, recognizing the hardships and obstacles trans and non-binary folks face daily is crucial to the work that I do. I role model respect for all persons and respect the dignity of each individual student I am fortunate enough to work with. I continue to educate myself on the unique needs and challenges of this community to ensure that I can do everything within my power to be a trusted and supportive presence for these incredible individuals. Participating in Trans Day of Remembrance is both a privilege and a responsibility. I am humbled to be able to honor the beautiful lives we've lost due to violence, but I'm also reminded of the work that still needs to get done in order to truly create safe, inclusive, and just spaces for all.
As Alana Services, it is important for us to discuss and address transphobia and other discriminatory actions that many times comes from within the communities of color. It is no secret that many cultures, through laws and religion, demoralize these identities, and if we don't address these issues within our own communities, how helpful are we really being when it comes to practicing allyship and advocating? Recalling the first year that students put together the Trans Day of Remembrance to me brings joy, as it's always fulfilling to see students take action. And as an administrator, seeing those actions grow and others rise to the occasion shows me that a lot more people care than we perceive. Please continue to apply pressure and question the systems, as we know many of these systems were always placed to benefit folks that don't look like us. So keep pushing.
We remember those who have been lost to transphobic violence, and we will use our voices in their honor. Loyola stands with the trans community.
We stand with the trans community.
You will not be erased.
Hi, my name is David Tishoni. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I stand with Loyola's trans community. I'm the Director of Student Conduct, and I'm committed to making Loyola safe for trans non-binary students, faculty, and staff. I think it is important to talk about making our community safe and inclusive for trans non-binary Loyola community members, because I believe a safe and inclusive community for all will allow students, faculty, and staff to be their true, authentic selves and thrive as students and professionals. Remember those who have been lost to transphobic violence, and I will use my voice in their honor. Loyola stands with the trans community. I stand with the trans community. You will not be erased.
Hi, my name is Dan. My pronouns are he, him, his. I serve as the Assistant Director of Student Conduct, and I stand with Loyola's trans community. As a member of the Office of Student Conduct, I feel it is necessary to talk about the needs of trans individuals in our community and how we will all strive to meet those needs. I know that Loyola would be a community devoid of richness without our trans community members, and so we must be committed to making sure that trans folks are safe, included, and not just welcomed, but celebrated. Loyola University Maryland places in highest regard the establishment and maintenance of a campus environment of interpersonal care and personal responsibility. Honesty, integrity, and taking responsibility for the welfare of self and others are characteristics of such a community. We recognize that our trans community has and continues to experience harm. So when our students harm others, when there's devaluing of trans life and dignity, our mission in student conduct is to work with, to repair harm, and to restore and sustain our community so our students can thrive. So for all our trans students who have experienced harm, we stand with you, and we will continue to work through means like restorative justice to prevent future harms and to repair those that occur. We remember those who have been lost to transphobic violence, especially trans individuals of color, and I will use my voice in their honor. Loyola stands with the trans community. I stand with the trans community. You will not be erased.
Hi, my name is Alyssa Keskula. My pronouns are she, hers, and I stand with Loyola's trans community. I'm the president of the Gender and Sexuality Studies Club, and our club seeks to better understand the unique experiences that both gender identity and sexual identity provide to our community as well as our society. We work towards educating ourselves and others on the history of trans and non-binary people, as well as their contributions to our society. Transgenderedness has a rich history going all the way back from 7000 BCE and spanning all over the globe, from North American native cultures to Thailand and everywhere in between. The concept of being transgendered or non-binary has been around for millennia. Overwhelming historical evidence proves that being transgendered or non-binary is in no way a trend or a phase or something that people are just going through. The gay rights movement was actually started by two trans women, that'd be Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera, and they were crucial to achieving the legal and social rights that members of the LGBTQ+ community have now. Unfortunately, Marsha P. Johnson was murdered for being transgendered, which still remains a constant threat to the trans and non-binary community. In fact, in 2019, 27 trans and non-binary people lost their lives due to violence against their identity, and many of them were people of color. The Gender and Sexuality Studies Club seeks to raise awareness of the ongoing violence and discrimination that our trans and non-binary communities members are facing on a daily basis. We have committed ourselves to remembering and honoring those who have lost their lives to violence, to those who have been discriminated against, and to those who fight for the very right to exist in our society. Trans Day of Remembrance is essential to demonstrating that Loyola is accepting and supportive of trans and non-binary community members, and that we will not stand for any acts of discrimination or violence against any of our community members, regardless of their gender identity or sexual orientation. Loyola stands with the trans community, I stand with the trans community, and you will not be erased.
Hi, my name is Erin O'Keefe. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I am director for Loyola Center for Community Service and Justice and our York Road Initiative. Through our programs, policies, operations, and culture in CCSJ, whether it be through service learning, our immersion experiences, or our commitment to our local York Road neighbors to address the segregation of opportunity that York Road historically and currently represents, we value the dignity of all people, and we are committed to dismantling systems of oppression for a more just and equitable world. Black Lives Matter, trans Black Lives Matter, and we will use our voice, our power, and our connections across campus and in Baltimore City for the betterment of our trans community. We remember those who have been lost to transphobic violence. CCSJ stands with our trans community. I stand with our trans community. You will not be erased.
Hi, my name is Andy Choi. My pronouns are he, him, his. I'm the Assistant Director for Student Supervision at CCSJ. I stand with Loyola's trans community. You will not be erased.
Hi, my name is Elise Gower, and my pronouns are she, her, hers. I am the Associate Director for Programs. I stand with Loyola's trans community. You will not be erased.
Hi, my name is Maura. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm the AmeriCorps Vista for CCSJ and the York Road Initiative. I stand with Loyola's trans community. You will not be erased.
Hi, my name is Pat Cassidy. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I'm the Assistant Director for Immersion Programs. I stand with Loyola's trans community. You will not be erased.
Hi, my name is Gerald Ford. I'm the Associate Director for the Center for Community Service and Justice. My pronouns are he, him, his. I want to say today that I stand in solidarity with the Loyola trans community. You will not be ignored, nor will you be erased.
Hi there, my name is Vidashani Jalal. I'm the Assistant Director for Outreach and Advocacy at CCSJ and the York Road Initiative. My pronouns are she and hers. I stand with Loyola's trans community. You will not be erased.
Hi, my name is Rosemary Riel. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and I'm the Assistant Director of Academic Engagement. I stand with Loyola's trans community. You will not be erased.
Hi, my name is Mike Puma. I use he, his, him pronouns. I'm the Director of Messina and also a member of Out Loyola on campus, and I stand with Loyola's trans community. In my role in Messina, part of our learning outcomes for the whole program is to develop a sense of belonging among students on campus and have respectful relationships with faculty, staff, and administrators. And a lot of our work in Messina tries to support that. For example, we have a lot of training and workshops that we provide for our peer leaders, our mentors, and our faculty to be more inclusive. Another concrete step we've taken over the last few years is to make sure that all of our communications to students, our surveys, our core values exercised during Fall Welcome Weekend include spaces for students to put information about the name they want to be called and also their pronouns. We think these are important first steps, but only first steps really, to welcoming people into our communities and into our classrooms. Beyond that, though, we want to make sure students are able to grow and kind of thrive at Loyola. We want to make sure they're, through our enrichment sessions, aware of leadership opportunities and ways to get involved in clubs like the LGBTQ experience or groups like In and Out and In Between, or just resources that are available to Loyola students like the Counseling Center. So we use enrichment sessions to kind of work with individual students to meet their needs, to offer resources and celebrate successes with them. It's very important that events like this continue on an annual basis and maybe even more, more than annually on campus, because it does provide visibility, it provides opportunities for conversation, and a reminder that things just don't change by themselves. It takes active kind of participation and advocacy and kind of mixing that personal support of individuals with systemic changes in our community, whether that be on campus through policies and practices or in our local communities. We know that trans students and members of our trans community, especially those who are also people of color, experience a lot of harm in our society, and we need to all do a better job to contribute to a society that does not tolerate that and also works to affirm the dignity of each person. So that's kind of where Messina hopes to start students' journey at Loyola, thinking through some of these things and offering connections and support for students. I can personally give you my assurance that I will continue to educate myself and then work through with my colleagues to provide future workshop opportunities, future opportunities to learn more to be more inclusive in classrooms and also in residence halls and all throughout the campus experience. Loyola stands for the trans community, Messina stands for the trans community, and I stand with the trans community. You will not be erased. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Leah. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I stand with Loyola's trans community. I'm the e-board member of Do Better Loyola, responsible for our Inclusion and Intersectionality Committee. Part of our mission is ensuring the conversations currently happening around gender violence explicitly acknowledge trans and non-binary people. Trans and non-binary people need to be acknowledged by the school in ways that are sure to clarify and explicitly offer trans and non-binary specific support and resources. People in this community experience unique struggles and issues, and the school should be responsible for educating its community to be able to support its members. Part of this initiative is pushing for school policy to be explicit in protecting its trans community. Language should not be all-encompassing. It should take the time to acknowledge how it will uniquely serve marginalized students. Trans students deserve better than assumptions that school policies modeled around privileged students is enough. Trans people experience issues of gender violence at heartbreakingly high rates. This year alone, we have lost over 32 members of the national trans community to violence and many more to suicide. The worst sections of our political spectrum have been increasingly emboldened over the last 4 years, and it is imperative that Loyola works against this trend. Our students deserve better. The trans community deserves better. Now is the time more than ever to fight for trans-specific protections within both our community and our country. Anti-trans violence is gender violence, and Do Better Loyola has a responsibility to place this recognition at the forefront of our efforts. As our e-board is entirely comprised of cisgendered people, we have heightened responsibilities as allies to learn about these issues and use our privilege to speak on behalf of those who can't. For many students, Loyola is a safe space away from transphobia present in their home lives and out in the world. Most students relate to the idea of campus as a refuge. That is why we need to listen to trans voices when they say campus has failed them. Marginalized students deserve the same comforts that are freely enjoyed by many, but on both a microcosmic and macrocosmic scale, there is still work to be done. This annual demonstration is a reminder that there is a lot of progress yet to be made to make it safe for trans people to exist. I use my voice to make sure trans and non-binary people are not only part of Loyola's conversations, but are given their own conversations as well. I give them my platform and amplify their voices. We remember those who have been lost to transphobic violence, and I will use my voice in their honor. Loyola stands with the trans community. I stand with the trans community.
I stand with the trans community.
I stand with the trans community.
I stand with the trans community.
I stand with the trans community.
I stand with the trans community.
My name is Marie McSweeney Anderson. I use she, her, and they, them pronouns, and I'm the Assistant Director for Loyola University's York Road Initiative. I stand with the trans community at Loyola. We will not be erased.
We love you.